Alright, these are some problems from chapter 11. This one is just like your number 2, but this one is out of the textbook, so I wanted you to see it, how it would be written, say if it were in the textbook and not as a homework problem, because sometimes the homework kind of leads you into how these problems should be solved. Alright, so anyway, we're having to do these totally by hand. Normally you have a math software program that would work these, but we're going to have to do a lot of tedious work by hand. You can download a program to your TI-84 which will do this multivariate ANOVA analysis and crunch all these numbers for you so you won't have to. If not, just write all these formulas down. The test that you're taking is an extended time, so you can have all of your printouts and your work right there beside you. So I don't think it'll be that big of a deal, but you know, if you're having trouble with the tediousness of calculating these values, just slow it down. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is just this x1 dot is just add up all the data points in the row. I added 64, 49, and 50 and got 163. X2 dot is I added up row 2, wrote it down. Going the other way, x dot 1 is I'm adding up all the data points in the column. So you're going to need these values, so you find these calculations so that you can use them later on, is what we're doing this for. This x dot dot, what you're doing here is just getting the total sum of data points. And you can do this by adding up everything in the row, or add up all of your column ones, or you can just add up all of your data points. However you want to do it, I don't care. But just make sure that you can get those values. On this one right here, what you're going to be doing is you're going to take each data point, you're going to square it, and then you're going to add it. So taking each data point, squaring it, and then adding it. So this is going to look like 64 squared plus 49 squared plus 50 squared plus 53 squared plus blah 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 until you add them all up. At which point I got for this one 30599. The next one is also called your grand mean. It's another way to describe it. But what you're going to do is you take your x dot dot, square it, so 603 quantity squared, and you divide it by your I times your j. So in my case, here's my I and my j. I wrote them out there to the side for you as a reminder. So this is 4 times 3, or 12. And with that, you would get 30300, so 30,300.75. To get your SST value, what you will do is take your CF and the previous one were your square data values and just subtract those. So you can do 3599 minus the 30,300.75, and for that you should then get 298.25. This is also going to be your total. So I could go ahead and throw that one in here on this SST right here. This is 298.25. Well, let's go ahead and fill in our degrees of freedom. For my degree of freedom for A, that's going to be 4 minus 1, which is our 3. This is going to be a 2 because that's our J. For the error, what I'm going to do is just the I times the I minus 1 times J minus 1, which is a 6. For total, just add them all up. So this would be an 11. Almost to the SSA. This one is the one that we're calculating next, right here. So this tells me to do 1 over J. so that's going to be 1 over 3, times the sum of each of my row data points squared. So it's 163 squared plus 152 squared plus 142 squared plus 146 squared. And for that one, you should get, and then I'm going to subtract off, oops, I didn't say that I had to subtract that off, but I also need to subtract off my CF. So minus my CF. For that, whenever you get that total thing crunched, and I need to write minus CF in that. This one is also minus CF, trying to get my formulas right. Get them all done for you. 83.58. 83.58, and that should get you that guy. Doing the SSB, that's going to be 1 over, and this is going to be, for the SSB, you're going to take the 1 over the J, so that's going to be the 1 over J, there's this 1 over I, so this is 1 over 4, sorry about that, and then you'll just square each of those column values starting with the 215. And this is a procedure that you'll want to have written down and minus CF, so that whenever you, whenever you take your test at 6 extended times, it doesn't even matter anyway. This value should be 91.5. For my error on this, you're just going to be taking your total, which is 298.25, because we calculated the SST, and these numbers right here should add up to the 298, so that's why this SS error, you're just going to take the 298 minus the 83.58 minus the 91. For that one, I happen to get 123.17. Okay, then calculating my MSA, I take my SSA and divide it by, so 83.58 divided by the I minus 1, so divided by 3. For that one, you should get 27.86. It's supposed to be a 7. 27.86. And continuing on, MSB is just your SSB over J minus 1, so that is 91.50 divided by J minus 1, so it's divided by 2. You crunch those numbers, you should get 45.75. And then your error for that one, your MSE, is SSE divided by, so let's go up there and get our SSE. SSE is 123.17. I minus 1, that's 3, times J minus 1 is 2. If you crunch those numbers, you should get for your MSE 20.53. Then for your F value, it's just some more number crunching on that as well. Just key in the numbers that I got here for MSA over MSE. I'll just key in what they are. For my F, it is 1.36. For FA, for FB was 2.23. And you crunch those numbers. For my critical value, my critical region, I just went to table A9, very similar to what we have been doing. This is your alpha, and this one is your, let's see, I think that one was your I minus 1, and then your error, which is your I times your J minus 1. Similarly here, on this FB, but opposite, this would be J minus 1, and then this second value is also your error. So just getting those from the table, 4.76. And then 5.14, I think, wasn't it? 14. So comparing these values, this F is less than, my data is less than the critical region in both cases. So for this one, since neither F is greater than either of those critical values, neither of our hypotheses are rejected. So H naught A and H naught B are not rejected. Alright. This next part of the problem, they just want you to find the mean of all of these things and of the difference actually. So we've got as our x dot dot bar, we had I think 603, and we want the mean of that, so we divide that by 12, which is our I times our J up there. See them? So I'm just going to carry on from here because it's total number of data points there. So for our alpha 1 hat, it's going to be on this, I think for our alpha, for our row 1 we had 163, so we're going to do 163, and this is divided by the 3 data points, and then minus whatever it is I got for this, and I think for that one I get 50.25. So minus the 50.25. And you'll put that value in here, 50.25. And then you'll put whatever you get for this one, which I think would be, for alpha 1, 4.08. And I'm just trying to see what the difference in each one in the mean is. And you just carry on with that. The next one I wrote down was, let's see, for 2, 152 over 3 minus the 50.25, and you'll do that. You'll carry that on for the rest of it. So this, let me go ahead and mark this out. And there we have the different sample calculations and their answers for each one of those. It's just kind of tedious from there on out. And like I said, typically you would have math software that would do this, but we're having to do these by hand. It's one of the few things that we do by hand, but it is what we have to do. Sorry.